Mayor Harvie. Yep, we're losing you here. Just hang on a sec. Someone hit a button here that well, as I mentioned, I'll do the introduction. So George Mayor Harvie was elected as their first term mayor of the city of Delta in 2018. Delta has been home for George and his wife for over 4 decades, where they have raised their son and their daughter. Prior to becoming mayor, George served as the city manager from 2002 to 2018 in a role that George led the city hall, ensuring all duties and council directions were successfully implemented. During his leadership with the city of Delta, George guided the municipality through some of its most challenging projects, including the South Fraser Perimeter Road, Delta Port Third Berth expansion, and the introduction of Delta Fire Department's emergency medical responder program. A strong advocate for the Delta community, George has been effective in bringing together senior levels of government to resolve local issues and bring significant benefit to Delta. With his vision and leadership, George has transformed Delta's financial management to a place the city that not only debt-free, but is one of the best managed municipalities in British Columbia. Before his appointment as city manager for Delta, George was employed by the city of Burnaby, where he served for over 30 years in the also in the capacity of deputy city manager, director of human resources, and manager of environmental health department. George has a Bachelor of Arts in economics from Simon Fraser University, an administrative management certificate, and environmental health diploma of technology from the British Columbia Institute of Technology. He has also studied advanced management at Dalhousie University. So please give Mayor Harvie a warm Rotary Club of Ladner welcome.
Thanks, everyone, and I'll be so happy to get away from Zoom. My eyes are shot, but it's been a long 2 years, and I think we're almost over it. And certainly, I hope that we move in a direction where the restrictions can be lifted based upon the proper timing and the health data. First of all, I would just like to say that Delta has one of the highest, if not the highest, immunization rates for first and second immunizations against COVID in the province. And our numbers are very, very low. And I want to thank everybody in the community who has really stepped up and received their immunizations. But before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the shared traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Tsawwassen and Ho-Musqueam and other Coast Salish peoples. We extend our appreciation to these First Nations for the opportunity to be here today. And again, thank you for inviting me. I'm really hoping the next time will be in person. And I hope as well that we are finally almost through this pandemic and that we can start focusing our efforts on COVID recovery and exciting future opportunities. You know, I'm very proud of the work our council and staff have done over the past year. Despite the challenges of the pandemic, Delta was ranked in the top 50 in Maclean's magazine's annual rankings of Canada's best communities. Everyone who lives or works in Delta knows that our community is the best kept secret in the region. And so it was no surprise when Maclean's also ranked Delta as the best community in Metro Vancouver. For 2022, our theme is to listen, adapt, and deliver. We will continue to deliver on what we have heard from the residents and businesses of Delta. We will be finding ways to strategically execute important projects that meet a number of Delta's corporate priorities while remaining fiscally responsible to our taxpayers. In December 2021, we were able to deliver our 2022 financial plan earlier than ever before. It's important to understand that this early budget approval allows for a more competitive procurement process. This translates into more money to deliver key city priorities. As part of the budget, Delta Council approved an average property tax increase of 2.99%. It's important to know that 1.65% is for city services. An additional 1.34% is for enhanced community infrastructure. We're keeping our costs down. A major component of the budget is the approval of our 2022 capital program. We're not sitting still, we're not rotting, we're moving forward. This year, the program provides for increased investments in our parks infrastructure because we know this is a major priority for all the community and our sports user groups. We'll be investing in field improvements at Colby Park. Excuse me. I thought I had this on. Bruce McDonald, wonder why he's phoning. This year, the program provides for increased investments in our parks infrastructure because we know the game that this is where our priority should be. So we're investing in field improvements at Cromie Park and the North Delta Community Park, building new enclosed off-leash dog parks at Pebble Hill and Patterson Park, and enclosing the existing off-leash areas at North Delta Recreation Center and Huff Greenway. I'm also very proud to say that we are continuing our free passes for all our youth between grades 5 and grade 12. And that is so important for us that we allow all families, all youth within those grades, free access to all our rec centers. I also want to announce that we used to have for free passes for those that are 85 and over for all the rec facilities. But you know, when I go to our rec facilities, I didn't see too many people there that were getting it free. So what I did was I recommended to council, and I appreciate their support. Everybody in Delta that lives in Delta and is a taxpayer in Delta, it's so far from ages 75 and over now. So anybody 75 and over has an annual free pass to all our rec centers. I'm very proud of that and look forward to seeing more people using our rec centers in that age group. So you'll see that we're also undertaking a number of capital projects in South Delta. Our engineering team has commenced a multi-year program to design and replace the boat launches at Ferry Road, Wellington Point, and First Avenue, which is in Boundary Bay. We've retained a contractor to convert the lacrosse box beside the Ladner Leisure Center into a covered multi-sport court that can be used year-round by multiple sports groups in our community. We've also started work on wind skill lawn bowling, which you'll see now for the new clubhouse, which includes additional parking and field improvements. Less exciting, but still important, is the significant upgrade of Elliott Street Sanitary Sewer Pump Station in Ladner Village. You're seeing that now. And the twinning of the sewer force main from 72 to 76th Street, which takes that sewage over to the Annis's Island Sewage Treatment Plant. We have also established a new neighborhood livability and safety improvement fund to improve various sidewalk connections, crosswalks, road safety, and cycling infrastructure in Delta. We will use this fund to address neighborhoods with the highest needs. There are a number of priority neighborhoods scheduled for upgrades in 2022, including the Maple Crescent neighborhood in Ladner. In addition to these key capital highlights, we are doing a lot of work in other areas to advance the city's key strategic priorities. Much of this work is focused on social support, housing our future, recreation, and community and environmental preservation. The City of Delta knows it plays an important role in improving the social well-being of Delta residents and enhancing social inclusion and connection within the community. As a local government, we are working to update our social action plan for Delta. The plan has identified priority actions, and the city will be working alongside our stakeholders to advance these actions over the next 5 years. We are currently undertaking public consultation to ensure we have met the mark with regards to draft social action plan and encourage you to engage in the consultation process. This summer's heat dome and atmospheric river events remind us that extreme weather can occur across all seasons. I am proud how the Emergency Planning Committee and our senior staff have responded. I have recently made a motion to council to ensure that Delta has the equipment and resources necessary to address climate-related emergencies. This past fall, we worked with community partners to open Delta's second extreme weather shelter, this time in North Delta. We are thankful that the New Hope Church and Phoenix Society were able to open the center prior to the extreme weather alerts in late December. Some of the funds from our new kindness meter program are being dispersed to the shelters to provide support. In 2021, I established a task force to provide recommendations to council on actions and initiatives to support diversity and inclusion and to combat racism and discrimination. I look forward to continuing the important work of this committee through 2022. We have completed our housing action plan in December 2021, and we'll now be looking at strategies and actions identified in the plan to address Delta's housing needs in the short, medium, and long term. Just last week on Tuesday, we actually approved the first laneways and rear housing projects up in North Delta. And I'm looking forward to seeing those projects go through. So we are also moving forward with Ladner Village redevelopment strategy to redevelop the Ladner waterfront as a key element of the village revitalization. This could include changes along Chisholm Street to address flood protection measures and pedestrian enhancements. In addition, a site redevelopment strategy and concept for the revitalization of the Delta-owned former 7 Seas site and Spot on the Water Park will form a central element in the strategy. As a first step, we will be demolishing the 7 Seas building this summer, finally, and looking for opportunities to temporarily advance the space while finalizing a longer-term vision. We're opening it up to the public. For 2022, we plan to continue our very successful fun furniture program featuring pop-up parks to create fun and interactive outdoor spaces for residents and visitors to enjoy. Delta's largest pop-up park in Ladner was extremely popular with local residents and visitors, and it will be back. In 2020, I brought forward a motion to council on climate change to address the urgent need for meaningful actions related to mitigating and adapting to the effects of climate change. To support this motion, Delta has developed a cycling master plan and is now working to identify and implement high priority cycling projects, including a new bike route to connect our communities, and this may include our exceptional local breweries. We're also working on a long-term project to improve irrigation to Weston Island. Climate change through changing river salinity is impacting this vital resource, and we're making changes to support our essential farming community. We've also developed an electric vehicle strategy that we are planning to install 30 additional charging stations in 2022 to support our community and corporate fleet. In 2021, we also established an urban forest strategy, which involved an update to our tree bylaw to increase protection for existing trees and to enhance our overall tree canopy. And I'm very pleased to say that our canopy is growing. In 2022, we'll be retaining a consultant to develop a community energy and emissions plan. This plan will identify additional actions Delta can take towards supporting greenhouse gas reductions at the community level. I understand that Rotary has recently added the environment and climate change into its key areas of focus, and I look very forward to engaging with all Delta Rotarians on this front in the coming months. One of my key roles as mayor is for advocacy, and I will continue to lobby senior levels of government on a number of fronts. We have worked with the Tsawwassen First Nations and Musqueam to request the provincial and federal governments take collaborative action on a sustainable dredging program and lobby Translink for improved transit services to South Delta, including the Tsawwassen First Nations. And I've also been, as you know, a key advocate in the George Massey Tunnel Replacement Project. I know 2030 seems a long time away, and it is, but I'm just glad that we finally have a solution and we can move forward to seeing this project completed. And I understand and looking forward to some good news announcements in today's provincial budget on the George Massey Replacement Project. Notwithstanding the challenges of 2021, I believe we have accomplished a lot in Delta, and we have leveraged partnerships, took advantage of opportunities, and provided exceptional service delivery to our residents, while at the same time planning for the future. I would just like to mention the committees that, as mayor, that I'm involved with. We have Mayor's Community Investment Standing Committee, Mayor's Youth Council, Mayor's Task Force on Diversity, Inclusion, and Anti-Racism, Mayor's Task Force on Building Permits and Development Applications, and of course, I'm the chair of the Delta Police Board. In Metro Vancouver, I serve as a Metro Vancouver Board Director. I serve on the Mayor's Committee. I'm chair of the George Massey Crossing Task Force. I'm vice chair of the Performance and Audit Committee. I'm a member of the Regional Parks Committee, Finance Committee, Flood Resiliency Task Force, and a member of the Municipal Finance Authority. In TransLink, I'm a member of the Mayor's Council on Regional Transportation and a member of the Regional Transportation Planning Committee. Fraser Health, a part of the South Regional Municipal Mayors, Vancouver Port Authority, I sit on the Fraser River Mayors Committee, and UBC, I sit on the Local Government Policing Modernization Roundtable. And if you don't see me too much in my office, you can understand why. We are involved with a lot of committees. But doing that, we have to put Delta forward. Many times Delta was known as someone that could actually pick a fight in an empty room. That was many years ago. We've changed that now. We're working extremely hard with fellow mayors, fellow directors in the Metro, with the provincial government, and with the federal government. I strongly believe that the mayor has to and should work with who's ever elected. It doesn't matter who the provincial government is, the mayor has to work with them. So I look forward to an exciting year in 2022. I'm looking forward to these restrictions going. I'm looking forward to doing everything possible to help with small businesses. I want to ensure that our restaurants, for example, could still have their patio space. We're working hard with the provincial government to make sure they're not impacted by antiquated regulations that are in place right now. I look forward to hearing some questions from all of you.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Mayor Harvie. Yeah, and we'll have some questions now. We've got time, lots of time. Thank you. Anybody you want to start off with the questions? I see Richard Shantz. So Richard, go ahead, please. Guillermo.
I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to speak to us. With all the committees you're on, I don't think you've got an awful lot of time. Mine isn't really a question, but it's an observation, and perhaps you can pass it on to your traffic department. The lights at Ladner Trunk Road and 17A, especially the left-hand turn light, it's very, very confusing. I've seen more people go through red lights, make improper left-hand turns, and I think it could be resolved by just putting a left-hand turn arrow at that particular spot, as opposed to just the green light. So that's my comment.
Richard, you should know that that's come up a number of times. That is the provincial government's responsibility, but we've been at them to get those lines repainted and the signals more clear. Because you're absolutely right. I've noticed that many times. People are just confused sometimes going through that. Then they try to get over very quickly to the HOV lane. So we need to do that. But our staff are on that and confident that as soon as the weather gets a little better, we'll have those new lines marked out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Guillermo had his next question. Guillermo, please. You're muted, Guillermo.
I live just off Arthur Drive, what is commonly known in the community as Highway 17B. And people don't seem to respect the 50 kilometers an hour speed limit very much. And when you are at Whitworth Crescent, where there is a bus stop, and people coming, trying to cross there, sometimes risk take their life in their both hands. I wonder if something can be done. I spoke to the previous council on that, and nothing had happened in the last 3 years. Secondly, yesterday, there was a tweet from the Vancouver newspaper regarding the Minister of Housing, saying that he wants to take away the approval, final approval permit from municipalities and give it to the province. And I wonder what can we do in order to stop that, because I don't want the approval process to be in the hands of a bureaucrat in Victoria that doesn't know anything about Delta.
I can agree with you more. I've already talked to some of my fellow mayors this morning with regards to working with UBCM, Union of British Columbia Municipalities, and that's already been done. We've already had comments already on through the media and over the radio this morning. So I totally agree. But you know, this is something that we need to ensure that we have the final say, that we are involved. I refuse to give up any authority that we have now. Just in my opinion, we need more authority. But we do need more housing, but we don't need it slammed down on top of us. We need to work with the community and our social services groups. And I always say to the province, if you really want to do something worthwhile, reduce your provincial times for having our projects approved. We have 2 major industrial projects, MK Delta Lands, which I'm sure some of you have heard about. It's been around for many years. We're still waiting final provincial approval on that. It seems we can never get through it. And I know with COVID, they had problems, but we all had problems, but we tried to ensure that we were getting our processes done as soon as possible. But yes, we need to ensure that the province is going to affect our ability to let our community get involved insofar as housing projects or improvements in Delta.
Thank you. Cameron had a question. All of you can follow Lynn.
Is there anything in the foreseeable future with respect to indoor court facilities, i.e. for tennis or pickleball? Because we're one of the only municipalities that doesn't have anything anymore.
But we have indoor pickleball available in our gyms.
Well, I know, but there's no
Yeah.
indoor tennis.
Pardon me, no, not indoor tennis, you're right. We're trying to build more courts now, insofar as pickleball, and also tennis. So we need and recognize that we've done a lot of additional courts in the last 2 years. But yes, we need to keep people active. We need to keep people involved in their sport. I wish we could build a bubble somewhere. I'm still looking to see where we can do that. But we also are hoping that by enclosing the lacrosse boxes, modernizing them, that there can be also additional time for such things as pickleball. And I'm not leaving tennis out. I know a number of my friends do play tennis, and they're talking to me all the time about more tennis.
Yeah. Thank you. Alf Otto, followed by Peter Rolf.
Hi, George. George, my question is a follow-up to Guillermo's. And the provincial government wants to take over the building application process, as I understand it, because it takes too long for municipalities to approve construction, especially in the area of residential housing. Do you mentioned one of your committees was looking at building permits or that process. Can you tell us what is in the works to reduce the time that it takes to get the approvals and streamline them, as this adds to the cost of housing, it would seem, and makes it more difficult resupply of housing when supply of housing has been identified as one of the reasons housing is unaffordable, the lack of supply. So, yeah.
Sure. I'll respond to that. We do have a task force with regards to looking at our building permit process. One of the concerns I have, and it still remains, and we need to solve this, is what we're requiring up to third reading. So what we're putting things through for third reading and fourth reading is really time consuming. So you have my commitment, and we're working on that right now. But the province isn't talking about all Delta's housing projects, because we've had quite a few this last 3 years. During my term, we've done more than ever before. What they're talking about is the social housing, and the fact that we have areas in Metro Vancouver where social housing has been turned down because of the concerns that the immediate residential community had. So that is their focus on that right now. But our community projects that we've had in Ladner, they've been a bit stagnant, not because of Delta, but because of the province themselves, and also the agencies and the social groups that are actually doing the project. Yeah, so that's where the delay has been, is trying to move forward. But we need to have more social housing in Delta. Totally support it, but we just need to ensure that it meets with the community.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Peter Rolf, Rotary Peter, followed by Chris Hoffer.
Mayor Harvie, given your current role and over a long period of time, and now with the district government regarding the George Massey tunnel replacement, the plans have been going. The BC Liberals had a plan, and then the NDP came in, they have their plan. And Ian Payton speaking up, unless I misinterpreted, speaking up saying the BC Liberals would still favor the bridge solution. What are the risks if the government changes again provincially about the future of this project?
Well, you know, Peter, I get so frustrated over this. The politics have used the George Massey tunnel replacement just as an opportunity just to do their political blood sport. Get very tired of it. But I've said I'm agnostic to what the solution is. Just get on and replace it. When I heard comments like it's good for another 50 years, I can tell you it's not. The engineering reports show that it is actually suffering, and no surprise, the concrete problems with regards to the effects of salt being in salt water. So there's a lot of problems with that tunnel. This government has put forward a plan. It's a provincial asset. I just hope that we don't swing back and forth, because it'll never get built. And what's going to happen is we're going to lose that crossing. It took us an hour and a half, a couple of Saturday a week ago, we're going to go see the Canucks play in Toronto. It took us an hour and a half to get from all the way around because of the accident in the tunnel, an hour and a half. It took us 2 hours to get to the game. That would be our life every day if we lose that crossing. On the other side, is the government is just, they're not doing this marvelous thing to improve our traffic because it won't improve all that much. We've got to get people out of the cars and onto a robust transit system. We're working on that. But I've said this a number of times, and I'm starting to say it even more. Replacing like for like isn't going to solve the problem when we have over a million people coming here by 2030, 2050, if not more, and most of it's going to be in south of the Fraser. We need to start working as politicians and leaders on a vision for another crossing or 2 crossings across the river. That needs to be done. I'm not saying it needs to be a truck route or cars. It could be SkyTrain expansions or whatever. But we should be working on that now. Just not saying we're just going to replace like for like and then move on. We need to look forward. And that's the problem of every government we've had for the last 30 years. They're not looking forward. They're not planning for the future. They're just replacing like for like. But I'll be pushing that very hard that we need as politicians to start working. I'm saying this right now in Metro Vancouver and Translate. I said this last week. We need to start having staff work on where the future of transportation can go. And we need more crossings.
Thank you. Thank you. Chris Offer has a question. Chris, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Harvie. Thanks for the presentation and update what's happening in Delta. I live in the north end of Ferry Road, so when you mentioned the boat launch, it jumped out. I don't have a boat, but first of all, a big kudos and thank you for the linear park that's being built. It's not finished yet, but the linear park from Ferry Road to Highway 99 there's been built as an amenity from Polygon and Bell Construction, I assume. It's spectacular, and if anybody hasn't walked along the slough, D slough there, it's a great asset. My concern is with the boat launch parking lot. About 10 new townhouses are being built with their front steps literally exiting into the parking lot. The parking lot is at capacity in the summer, unless there's plans to put some parking restrictions in the area. It's an area there's going to be conflict. People park there and drink overnight, and now, which when it was isolated could be ignored, but now it's going to be in front people's front porch. So it's becoming a very wonderful area, but also a very busy area. That's it.
It's Chris, and Chris, I do have a boat. It was in Point Roberts, and I had to move it out. Of course, it took 8 months to get it out. But I'm at Captain's Cove. I've been there now for over a year, and I see this all the time in the area. We've actually started taking some bylaw restrictions insofar as making sure that trucks with trailers weren't blocking access for a fire truck, an ambulance, etc., to get through. You're absolutely right that we have to look at the parking there. But at the same time, I'm very glad that we just announced that, as I mentioned before, we are improving our boat ramp there and also down at Wellington Point and also in Boundary Bay. The problem I have with the walkway is I see it all the time. I saw it yesterday when I was down, turning the heat up, turning the dials up on my heaters in the boat. When you come up, there's too many of the racing bikes. And I used to do it all the time too, but they're using that in a boat. It needs to be a passive walkway. With the little kids running, when they step out of coming up out of the boat launch, the boat areas in Captain's Cove, you're right into that walkway, and the bikes are just going far too fast. We've had 2 serious accidents that I know of with bicyclists using it as a speedway. So those are things that I'm asking Parks staff right now to look at.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands being raised. Or I have a question, I guess, regarding as your role as the police chief and the movement of or losing of officers to the Surrey Police Department, the new Surrey Police Department. Are there any comments on recruitment or replacing or?
It's actually going very well. We've been able to modify it. We actually lost more members, I think about 15 or 20 years ago when they were changing the pension plans and other things. But no, we're doing quite well. In fact, we had a member come back that went to Surrey, but it's come back. Their collective agreement allows them, if they transfer out to another agency or another job, they do have 1 year to come back. And within that, if they come back within that year, they don't lose their seniority. So I'm pleased with how Chief DeBorden and his good staff have handled it. I'm very proud of our police department. They're doing a phenomenal job. We're the first police department and a police board to approve cameras, and they've worked out extremely well. You can see the reduction in serious crime. I just can't say enough about our police department, you know, and I will never, ever, ever let them go. We need to keep our police department and not be part of any regionalization.
Okay, good comments. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody? Any questions from anybody else? If not, I'm going to let the final word go to Rotarian Walt Hayward for the official thank you for our mayor.
Thank you, Dennis. George, on behalf of the Ladner Rotary Club, I would like to thank you very much for your presentation today. I know it's been a very challenging year for the city, and I'm looking forward to things getting back to normal. The future looks really exciting. The tunnel replacement has finally been made. I think that's great news, but anyway, Delta still remains one of the safest and most livable areas in Metro Vancouver, thanks to the continued leadership of yourself and people like you. On behalf of the Rotary Club, I would like to acknowledge that we will be presenting to you in your name a donation to the Rotary Polio Plus program. Thank you again.
Good. Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor Harvie.
Thank you, everyone. And if you have any questions, please email me at mayorharvie.ca anytime. Look forward to you helping you or doing any comments. Look forward to seeing you in the community. And if you haven't tried the hot chocolate stirs yet, we're celebrating, you should try it. It's amazing. Yeah. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Harvie, and also on behalf of the club. And I have a solution for Lynn Cameron. Once you decommission the tunnels, they can put tennis courts down in the underground tunnels. There you go, Lynn.
Well, actually, you know, I have a friend who's a top geologist, and he said he wouldn't even drive through the tunnel because it's that bad.
Well, I agree.
He's a smart person.
Best before date.
Thank you, everybody.
And we'll look forward to seeing you at a live meeting.